In a world chasing silver and gold.
Have you ever just had this feeling that there's gotta be more to life than what we can see and touch? Well, today we're diving into Olivia Ng Jonah's book, The Spiritual Man. It offers this incredible framework for living a life that's guided not by what's happening around you, but from something deep inside of you. And this one idea right here, this is the bedrock of the whole book. The central idea is that we are fundamentally spiritual beings having a physical experience. But so many of us have it completely backward. We pour all our energy into the physical world, the stuff we can see, and we end up neglecting the very part of us that connects to life's true source. So, the book opens with a pretty challenging question. A question for all of us, really. Do you ever feel like you're just functioning? Maybe on the outside you're successful, you're ticking all the boxes, but deep down you have this nagging feeling that you're not operating at full power, that there has to be something more than this. And this first section, it really gets into the why. It diagnoses this problem, suggesting that the reason we feel this way is because we're living from the outside in. We feed our bodies, sure. We chase things with our soul, our mind, our ambitions, our emotions, but we completely forget to feed or even end up starving our spirit. To really get this disconnect, the book uses this powerful analogy. It says we all have one of two internal operating systems running our lives. And which one is in the driver's seat, well, that changes everything. And here it is, the fundamental conflict laid bare. On one side, you've got the spiritual man. He's led by a connection to God, he can see things that aren't physically there, he walks by faith. On the other side, you have the soulish man. He's led by his own mind, his emotions, his will, totally reactive and completely limited to what his five senses tell him. It's a life lived by sight alone.
So where does the spiritual man get his power? The book points to this ancient Hebrew word ruach. It means breath, wind, or life force. And it's described as God's divine operating system. The very breath that was breathed into us at creation, the thing that makes us truly, deeply alive.
This is such a brilliant modern analogy for it. Think of a soulish person like the latest, greatest smartphone, but with no SIM card. It still works, right? It's got apps, it can play games, it looks impressive, but it's totally cut off from the network. It can't get any real-time updates or communication from the source. It's running way, way below its intended capacity. Okay, so what if you recognize that in yourself? What if you're living that disconnected, soulish life? How do you change? How do you get that SIM card installed and activated? Well, the book lays out a really clear path forward. The book gives us this incredible roadmap for the journey. It starts with awakening, then moves to alignment, and finally leads to abiding. But that critical step, the one we're going to zoom in on, is activation. That's the game changer. So to explain activation, the book uses this timeless metaphor from Jesus himself. You can't pour new wine into old wineskins. I mean, think about it. New wine is alive, it's fermenting, it's expanding. The old, brittle container, it just can't handle that kind of pressure. It's guaranteed to break.
So what does that mean for us? Well, the new wine is that new life, your new identity in the spirit. But that old wineskin, that's your old mindset. It's your old fears, your limitations, your bad habits. And the book's warning is so clear. If you get a new spirit, but you try to cram it into your old way of thinking, that new life is just gonna leak out and be totally wasted.
And this is the absolute key to activation. It's not some automatic, one-time event. It is a mental process. It takes disciplined work to unlearn the lies of that old operating system and intentionally replace them with the truth of the new one. It's a transformation that has to happen in your mind. Which of course brings us to the practical stuff, the how-to. The book actually gives us a spiritual toolkit, a set of practices designed to help us access and operate in this whole new spiritual reality. The book outlines several of these access points that really turn all this theory into something you can do every single day. These are the essential tools you need to build up and strengthen that spiritual man inside you. First up is prayer, but it's presented as way more than just asking for things. It's the gateway of alignment. It's how you tune your frequency to heaven's frequency. It's in this secret place that the loud, bossy, reactive soulish man starts to quiet down and the still, discerning spiritual man gets built up. And then there's faith. The book describes faith as the actual currency of the spirit realm. It's an amazing way to think about it, right? Just like you need money to do things in the physical world,
You need faith to transact with the invisible world. It's what gives real substance to your hope and allows you to make withdrawals from your heavenly account. And these next two tools, they work hand in hand. First, the Word of God, which is literally food for your inner man. And then there's obedience, which the book calls the activation key. This is the critical step. It's what turns a spiritual insight, a revelation, into a real-life, tangible result. So, what's the end result of all this? What's the promise if you actually go on this journey and start using this toolkit? Why does living as a spiritual man actually matter in our day-to-day lives?
Well, the contrast between these two ways of living is just stark. The spiritual man experiences deep, real, abiding things, while the soulish man is always chasing these fragile, surface-level imitations. It's the difference between true rest and just constantly trying to escape, between deep joy and fleeting happiness, between a purpose that comes from your spirit and an ambition that's just self-made. And what's so important is that this isn't a call to go live in a cave somewhere. As the book says, it's not about isolation, it's about prioritization. The whole point is to change who governs you from the inside out, so you can be fully engaged in the world no matter what's going on around you, because you're being directed by a higher source. So in the end, the book leaves us with this charge. It's not just a bunch of interesting ideas, it's an invitation to stop running below capacity, to plug back into your true source, and to finally let the spiritual man inside you rise up.